Senator, let's just shift gears quickly if we can. I mean, all things tariffs. I'll direct you into a talk about Medicaid and some of the stuff we're hearing. I mean, the title of the piece is Trump's worst idea since tariffs, and it has to do with price controls on Medicaid drugs. You know, the Journal has been negative on tariffs all along. There are a lot of populist things coming out of the administration, well-intentioned because of what's happened to a lot of working people across the country. We understand all that, but that doesn't mean you should embrace populist ideas that are more popular or had been more popular in the Democratic Party than the Republican Party. Can you put a governor on some of this drift?
Yeah, so let me there was a lot of things in that question, Joe, so let me take a couple of pieces of it.
Yeah.
Let me start on the tariff piece and then go to the Medicaid piece. On the tariff piece, I think we're at a fundamental fork in the road, and there's one path that is very, very good and one path that is very, very bad. The path that is good is President Trump has greater leverage right now than any president in our lifetime to negotiate lower tariffs with our trading partners. We're expecting an announcement about the UK later this morning, and what I have been urging President Trump, use that leverage, negotiate dramatically lower tariffs with our trading partners, use the fact that you've threatened these tariffs to lower them in exchange. And if we end up 30, 60, 90 days from now with significantly lower tariffs worldwide, that will be an historic win, an economic win for jobs and American business and productivity that we've never seen before. That's the path I want President Trump to take. There is another path, and there's a camp within his administration that doesn't see tariffs as a means to an end, doesn't see them as leverage, but rather sees them as the end, is happy with high tariffs as a permanent feature of economic system. I think path number two would be an utter disaster. So I am regularly and daily urging the president, use the leverage to get this win. Now let's shift to Medicaid. You asked about Medicaid. I think we are going to see significant Medicaid reforms as Congress takes on budget reconciliation and extends the tax cuts. And there are two elements that I think are critical. Number one, rooting out fraud in Medicaid. There's massive fraud, particularly blue states. States like California and New York have really exploited the Medicaid system, exploited the federal taxpayers. And I think we're going to see Congress crack down on the fraud on people who aren't eligible for Medicaid, nonetheless being on it. But secondly, and I think this is another thing we will get done, is work requirements. Putting work requirements in place for Medicaid, I think, is hugely important. Right. Because you are not helping people by having them sit at home on the couch. And the best thing you could do for someone who is not working is incentivize them to get back to work, to get a job, to provide for their families. I think we'll see Congress do that as well.
Well, Senator, maybe the same group that's whispering in the president's ear about what to do with the tariffs, the permanent tariffs, maybe they're the same ones talking about not extending all the tax cuts from 2017. There are some that are talking about a millionaire tax, which is a Democrat idea. They forget that small businesses use that they would get a tax increase under that. And then this most favored nation idea for drug pricing, for Medicaid, that's akin to importing drug price controls from Europe, which hasn't innovated on a drug in I don't know how many years, maybe Wegovy or Ozempic or something.
So, Joe, you are exactly right. It's the exact same people in the administration that are arguing, number one, for high tariffs forever. And look, they're fundamentally, tariffs are taxes. If you leave tariffs in place forever, they're just taxes on the American people. So I'm all for tariffs as leverage to get lower tariffs from other countries and to open up their markets. That's good for Texas. It's good for America. But there are those in the administration who, just like tariffs, want trillions in new taxes. And they're the exact same people who are saying, gosh, we should raise taxes on the top level, and that would be a tax on every small business, every job creator. And you know what? That's what Kamala Harris campaigned on. That's what she promised. And I got to say, the folks in the administration, they've decided to call themselves populist, but just being a Democrat and wanting higher taxes and more regulation, that's not populist. That's embracing the failed ideas of Jimmy Carter and Joe Biden. Let's not do that. Let's be real populist, which means fighting for blue-collar workers and jobs. That's what I'm doing every day, and I think that's exactly what President Trump is doing as well.
Well, Senator, have you had that conversation with President Trump? Because clearly he's not doing exactly what you're saying.
On which piece?
A couple of them.
Well, a whole bunch of them, right? There's still a conversation. The tariffs piece is right there. You just said that you don't like the tariffs and you'd like them to be negotiations. He is trying to negotiate, I guess, but I think we still don't know. If you look at some of the tweets or Truth Social posts this morning, he's very happy about all the revenue that he's bringing in as a function of those tariffs. So remember, we've had this sort of incongruity about what's really happening here.
So Andrew, your point is fair. There is a divide in this administration. There are two camps on tariffs. By the way, there are also two camps on raising taxes, and I think the same camp is wrong on both of those. I believe that President Trump has an historic opportunity. I can tell you we have over 130 nations who have come to the White House, said, let's make a deal. We want to lower tariffs. We want to open up our markets. That is extraordinary, and I don't know which path we'll go down. I pray we don't go down the path of massive taxes and massive tariffs forever. If we go down the former path of using this leverage, there would be a rich irony if Donald J. Trump ended up the most free trade president that this country has ever seen. He has the opportunity to do that. You're right, we don't know yet, but I got to say a lot of folks in the media are ready to say, oh, we won't see that happen. I am hopeful. I've had that conversation multiple times with President Trump. There are a number of other people, including Scott Bessent and Elon Musk, who are urging the president, you have an opportunity to win one of the biggest wins for American workers we've seen in our lifetimes.